Leo's hands, more accustomed to the gentle friction of turning pages than the cold precision of a lockpick, trembled as he smoothed the auction catalog. The scent of old paper and rich leather in his London bookshop, usually a comfort, now felt cloying. There, on page 47, was his father's ghost. Lot 48, the Silvanus Codicil, a previously unknown 15th century liturgical text. Provenance, private collection of Alastair Finch. The Codicil, the one relic his father, the legendary Alexander Croft, had sworn he never stole. The one that had branded him a liar as well as a thief. The final, unsolved stain that broke their family. The bell above his shop door chimed. He didn't need to look up. The air itself shifted, growing sharp and still. He sent one of his little paper birds to you, too, I see. Ilara. Her voice was like polished steel, a sound he hadn't heard in 5 years. She stood silhouetted in the doorway, a vision in a severe black suit, the scent of ozone and expensive perfume cutting through the dusty air. His sister, who had traded their father's world of shadowed alleys for the daylight brutality of high finance. "It's not just the codicil, Leo," she said, striding forward and slapping a sleek tablet on his counter. The screen displayed the full auction list. "It's the Athenian marbles fragment, the Benin bronze mask, all of it. Finch is liquidating a private collection we both know was assembled by father. And he's selling our name with it." "Our name is already mud," Leo muttered, his thumb tracing the catalog's grainy photograph. "Is it?" Ilara's eyes, the same cool gray as their father's, pinned him. "He was never convicted for the codicil. The statute of limitations ran out. But if we can prove he didn't take it, if we can prove Finch framed him for that one, it changes everything. It wasn't the crime that broke him, brother. It was the lie." The hook was set. The question, the one that had festered for a decade, was now a scream in Leo's mind. What if he was telling the truth? Their first stop was a lock-up garage that smelled of engine oil and regret. Silas, the getaway driver, was now a man who jumped at the sound of his own kettle whistling. "The vulture's kids," he rasped, wiping greasy hands on his coveralls. "He'd spin in his grave. He wanted you out." "He also wanted his name cleared," Ilara said, her tone leaving no room for argument. She opened a briefcase. It wasn't full of money, but of pristine, forged identities and access keys. A new life, for all of you. One job, the old way. Next was Anya, the forger, now running a chic art gallery. She listened, her fingers, once capable of recreating Rembrandt's strokes. "Finch's security is AI-driven, biometric. A ghost couldn't get in." She looked at Leo, at the desperate hope in his eyes that mirrored the one she'd seen in his father's. "But a ghost could change the parameters from the inside. I'm in." The final piece was Kaito, the cat burglar, who they found teaching parkour to teenagers. He simply grinned. "The vulture's legacy needs saving? The kids are all right. Let's go steal some truth." The plan was a symphony of their father's design, updated for a digital age. The auction was at Finch's glass and steel penthouse, a fortress suspended over the city. Anya, on the inside as a caterer, would introduce a corrupted file into the security system, creating a 90-second blind spot in the sensor-rich cage where the codicil was displayed. Silas, parked in a service van, would manage the local signal jammers. Kaito would make the grab. Leo and Ilara would provide the distraction. The night of the auction, Leo felt a strange calm. The air in the penthouse was cold, smelling of avarice. He saw Finch, a man with a smile like a shark, holding court. He saw the codicil, resting under a laser lattice that was invisible to the naked eye. Ilara gave the slightest of nods. The dance began. She accidentally spilled a glass on a prominent banker's wife. As chaos and outrage erupted, Leo slipped away, his heart hammering against his ribs. He found the service corridor, the route Anya had mapped. His part was simple: access the maintenance terminal and input the final override code. He typed. The screen flashed green. System override, 90 seconds. In the main hall, the lights flickered. Kaito, a shadow against the floor-to-ceiling windows, moved. He was a fluid dance of controlled motion, slipping under the now dormant lasers, his movements a silent homage to their father's art. But Finch was no fool. His eyes, sharp and predatory, scanned the room. They found Ilara, too composed, and then swept towards the corridor where Leo stood. He signaled 2 hulking bodyguards. "Go, Kaito," Leo whispered into his calms, stepping out to block the corridor. "We're out of time." The confrontation was brief, brutal. Leo was no fighter. A fist connected with his jaw, and the world exploded in white light. But as he fell, he saw Ilara, a fire in her eyes, bringing flute down on a guard's head with ruthless efficiency. They had bought the seconds. Kaito emerged from the main hall, the slim, ancient manuscript tucked inside his jacket. He gave a sharp nod. The getaway was a blur of screaming tires and switched vehicles, a ballet orchestrated by Silas. They met at the pre-arranged spot, Leo's dusty bookshop. Under the warm glow of his reading lamp, Leo laid the codicil on his workbench. His hands, steady now, turned the vellum pages. He was the scholar, the keeper of words. And there, sewn into the binding with a thread different from the rest, was a microfiche strip. He projected it on the wall. It showed a younger Alastair Finch signing a certificate of authenticity for a perfect forgery of the codicil, a forgery he had planted to frame Alexander Croft after the real heist went wrong. It was insurance, a way to control the legendary thief. "He wasn't lying," Leo said, his voice thick with a decade of vindication. Ilara placed a hand on his shoulder, the gesture unfamiliar but firm. "We know." They didn't go to the police. They went to the press, anonymously. The story that broke wasn't about a thief, but about a corrupt collector and a framed man. Alexander Croft's name was finally, publicly, separated from his most infamous alleged crime. Weeks later, the looted artifacts began their slow journey back to their countries of origin, the pressure of a global scandal too much for Finch to withstand. Leo stood in his shop, the morning sun illuminating the motes of dust dancing in the air. The scent of paper was a comfort once more. He looked at an old, faded photograph on his desk. His father, smiling, an arm around a young Leo and Ilara. The legacy wasn't in the things they took, he realized. It was in the truth they brought to light. The heist was over, but the restoration had just begun.